Welcome to my summer garden. Let's take a look around and see what is thriving, surviving, or dying. Got a little tomato in the crisp. Here we go, we've got another 4 delicious sweet figs for breakfast. Right now we're in the heat of summer and the garden is showing me exactly what's working and what still needs support. Some areas of my edible gardens are thriving and productive and others are struggling with the relentless hot temperatures, high winds and poor sandy soil. But building a food forest that produces fruit all year round isn't about perfection, it's about resilience. I want my gardens to grow easily on their own and not feel forced or like I'm constantly battling to keep them alive. Everything is very crispy. What's growing well and what's struggling at this time of year will help me shape how this garden evolves. When your garden is under pressure, it's the best time to observe what's working well and what still needs more tweaks. Something that is thriving is my pigeon pea, which is one of my support plants used to create shade, wind block, as well as edible peas. As you can see, it's nice and lush and green. I've been harvesting some of the dried seed pods. These Queensland arrowroots again are doing a really good job of wind protection, shade, and I have now been thinning some of them out as they get too tall and fall over to use this chop and drop mulch to feed the soil and keep the roots of my fruit trees nice and cool during this hot summer. Now here, this is my little sheltered tropical section. So I've got a starfruit, a soursop, I've got an apium in here, and my moringa, which is now taller than me. It has survived the snails just. So I did come in here the other day and do a bit of clearing out because the grass was getting really tall, which makes me nervous about the slitherers. So I just use the weed eater and try and get in between without hitting my fruit trees. I did some chop and drop of these Queensland arrowroots to let a little bit more light in, use those as chop and drop as well. But yeah, I'm really happy with this part of the garden. It is surviving the hot summer because of all the support it has. It will look a lot different as we get past the hot months. I'm going to start doing a lot more clearing in here, pruning. This apium will lose all its leaves. The moringa may defoliate during winter as well. Oh, we're getting some flowers on there now. I'm excited to start experimenting using the leaves of the moringa as well, now that it's getting a little bit bigger. So yeah, it's nice and cool in here. We've got fruit on my feijoa, we've got fruit on my lime tree. No fruit on the tropicals yet, they're still pretty young. Look at the size of my banana compared to our last tour of the front yard. It's grown a lot, but something has died, and that is this, you can hear it, crispy, crunchy, very dead, a native hakea, which I am gutted about. What I think has happened with that is that I've got a bit of a slope running down towards there, and with me giving the banana some extra water over summer, too much of that water has gone to my native, which likes a drier climate. So that's a bit of a design flaw. I should have had the gardens more sloping towards the banana, but yeah, my garden does slope a little bit downwards that way. But that's okay, it was only a temporary tree for some shade, and now that the plum tree is like massive, the banana's getting tall, the pigeon pea over the back is really tall, I've got plenty of shade without it, so it was going to come out eventually anyway. So you can see the poor dead hakea in here, which is really close to my mango anyway, so I'll be able to take that out, give the mango more room because the mango's doing really well. It's going to push another flush of growth, so a bit more sunlight will be great. And I can obviously prune back this pigeon pea whenever I want to let a little bit more morning sun in, because that's the morning sun and then the afternoon sun comes in here. But that is one of my losses, and I do have a couple, sadly. So this garden is really showing me things that are working, especially starting from scratch in a hot garden. It's been so fun to see. Now what is not doing as well is my annual raised garden beds, and that is mainly because there's just not enough shade. Annuals have really shallow roots. I mean, we're planting a lot of these things from seed and from seedlings, and their roots are only like 15 centimetres max down, and so they get really hot and they need constant water supply during hot summers, and shade is really key. My grapes are not yet up, and I should have put up some temporary shade if I wanted to really have productive garden beds over this hot summer, but I didn't do that, so we've just got some things that are growing really well, so that is interesting to see. The sage is absolutely thriving. I can't believe how well the sage is doing out here when it's so hot and dry. I've got other things like chilies and capsicums, which I planted on purpose because I knew it was going to be hot and dry. The edible flowers are doing well. We've got some delicious chives which are about to start flowering. But I have kept up the water in these raised garden beds, and I've tried to make sure the soil is always covered, because even though my summer annuals may not be doing that well because of the heat, because of the lack of shade, it is important that I care for the soil in these raised garden beds. If I was just to say, okay, you know, it's too hot, don't have shade, I'm just going to put pause on these garden beds until the autumn winter season, that soil and all the soil life could absolutely cook and die. So I am still watering the gardens and still looking after the soil here, still making sure that it's covered with mulch or with plants, because that is something that is really, really important, is that I care for the soil even though there's not a lot of plants growing. Over the back here I do have my cucumbers slowly climbing up the trellis. These are struggling. Everything is just too hot and dry in my raised garden beds without having any shade cover. This sweet potato, which is taking off, is actually starting to create some really good shade cover, and I'm just letting it climb up this. There's another cucumber down here that's looking a whole lot better, being in more of a protected area. But we still have a bit of time, so hopefully I can get a few cucumbers off this. But yeah, my raised garden beds are too unprotected. We've just had consecutive hot days for weeks and weeks, and without any shade cover, it's just not going to happen, which is why I love my perennials. We've got plenty of chilies starting to ripen with all this warm weather, green chilies, and then they turn to red. Some beetroots in there. A little cucumber climbing up some string lines that I put, and this one is doing really well because it's got a ground cover of sweet potato. And sweet potato ground covers is not something that I recommend for your raised garden beds and for your annual veggie patches, but when you're growing sweet potatoes, it's really easy to get a little piece in your soil and then it will regrow. So that's what happened in this garden, is some must have come from my compost or something and started growing. So I'm letting it go in this bed because it is doing a good job, and it's a good way to get a really good harvest of sweet potato, because my other ones in my more food forest style garden, I don't harvest a lot of the sweet potato, so having one in a raised bed might actually give me a really good crop. My one lone little nashi pear is coming along. Got a little tomato in the crisp. Sweet potato is going wild. And take a look at the driveway patch. It is coming along so well. This is my papaya grown from a seed that I'm using as an umbrella for this really hot garden, and as it grows I'll start removing some of these lower limbs to create really nice shade here in this garden. Another summer casualty was one of my poor kiwi fruits. Very much dead. This was one of the females, and I have another one on this side. So I've still got one female, one male. So there is still hope I can get some kiwi fruit growing. Kiwi berry update, it is hanging on. It's got much more shade now. New growth coming out from down the bottom as well as middle, and the top is actually doing really well. The other thing about this driveway patch is that it doesn't get much light during winter because of this surrounding fences and the sun being a lot lower in the sky. So that's why I've chosen to grow deciduous fruit trees, things that are alive and thriving in summer but are asleep during winter. And this papaya that will love sun all year round will be big enough to get up and reach that sun. But yeah, I'm amazed actually at how much of this has grown. I've already pruned this back once, just because it was so windy and it was really tall and lanky and just getting whipped about and smashing everything else. So I pruned it back, and I'll probably give it another prune just to remove some of the crossing over branches at some point. But yeah, I didn't want to prune too much because the more shade I can get at the moment, the better. Out the back in my food forest style garden, I have lots of fruit on the way: pomegranates, feijoas, guavas, and the whole garden just looks beautiful and lush, and it's a constant point of inspiration for me for other parts of my garden. Nothing feels forced, it all feels very easy, and all I have to do is prune it, chop and drop, mulch, and harvest the fruit, which is how I want most of my gardens to be. And my gardens are still young, so I'm not expecting every part of my garden to look amazing through every season. This raised garden beds did absolutely insane this winter and spring season. I got so much food out of them, and now my perennials and my fruit trees are doing the best. So we're getting there. There's still holes. It's still a young system. It's still a young garden, but it's really interesting to see what's working and what isn't, and so I can keep tweaking it and to make changes for next summer. Because if I am able to get all the little parts of my garden working really well all year round, then we're going to be away and we're going to have so much incredible food from right outside my front door. Out here in my nursery, all my potted fruit trees are all smushed together, and that is to try and keep them nice and cool, make it easier for watering. And because I am going away every now and then during the hot months, I have set up a central sprinkler that can sprinkle everything on a timer, so that I've just kept them all like that, just under the shade cloth during this hottest part of the year, and that has worked really well. So you can see how tightly I've packed these all together. Some of them have trays underneath them, especially some of the small pots, because they dry out so quickly, and it just saves a lot of moisture and creates a little mini food forest in here so that they can all support each other. This is my little lemon in a pot, and it's got some beautiful lemons on the way. Dragon fruit climbing up these structures. I've got another Tamarillo in here, more figs. This one definitely needs to be picked as well. This one probably should have been picked already. I can't believe that no one else has got to these before me. Oh my god, it's so soft. And this one, that one's still firm. This chili is thriving. We've got lots of chilies coming along on this one. Some little potted experiments. This is a little pomegranate cutting. My Japodicaba, loving that dappled light in there from everyone else. Oh my god, that's so soft. And that one's just falling off as well. Here we go, we've got another 4 delicious sweet figs for breakfast. I've been really enjoying figs at the moment. Figs aren't something that I used to love, but since growing my own and trying different varieties, it's been really, really interesting to see. And now I love figs. And the dangerous thing about figs is that there are so many different varieties, and I am an obsessed fruit tree collector, so that's pretty dangerous. They're just so sweet, it's like sugar. So I'm going to enjoy this one with yogurt, and the other ones I'm just going to eat plain by themselves so that I can really enjoy the most of the fig flavour. I'm going to go and enjoy this. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe, and I will see you in the next episode.